Let's get started. So my name is Michael Randolph. I work with the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. It's two major focuses. The first focus is on working with nonprofits to build them to capacity, especially during this time of crisis and funding being cut. The second part is community development. And this is the part we're going to talk about today, our community development side of the table. We call it building power from the ground up. We believe in empowering marginalized communities with the tools to build their own table and lead their own transformation. The spotlight tonight is going to be on Sulphur Springs in Tampa, Florida. As with all marginalized and disenfranchised communities we serve across the country, our goal is simple yet radical. Equip residents with the tools to transform their neighborhood from within and reduce the lasting harm of displacement and gentrification. So, my name is Michael Randolph. I grew up in one of the most impoverished, crime-ridden, and drug-infested communities in Baltimore, Sandtown. It is a neighborhood the world will come to know through shows like The Wire, The Corner, and Homicide. But to me, it was more than what the cameras showed. It was a place where being poor, black, and forgotten by the system, well, it wasn't just a circumstance, it was a reality. Yet from all that sold, my purpose grew. Because I didn't want to just survive Sandtown, I wanted to learn from it. And now I carry those lessons to every community I work with, providing a brilliant and raise, providing brilliancy and raise from the very places society neglect. So before I go into the demographics related to the Sulphur Springs community, as well as solutions, let me start off by saying any community initiative that's successful is always because of leadership. In the case of Sulphur Springs, Mr. Charles Adams, and you see him right here making a presentation before City Hall, making a plea related to his community. This is the type of leadership that I seek when I look at working with neighborhoods throughout the nation. Let me tell you a little bit about the Sulphur Springs community. But before I do that, let me do a little bit more in terms of showing the community itself. So let me give some numbers behind the Sulphur Springs community. The Sulphur Springs community is located in Census Tract 37 and 38 and zip code 33604. Again, there's 2 census tracts. In terms of total population, in census tract 31, in census tract 37, there's a population of 3,300. In census tract 38, the total population is 2,900. When we look at the median age, both in census tract 37 as well as 38, that age is 35.7 years. When we look at race, 54% of that neighborhood consists of African Americans, 28 Hispanics, and 15% are white. In terms of poverty, the poverty rate, and this is both in census tract 36 as well as census tract 37. Let me get my census tract together, folks, here. In census tract 37 and in census tract 38. Now I'm back on board. In both of these census tracts, which consists of Sulphur Springs, the poverty level is 30.35%. Hispanic community with a high concentration of single parents in a household and economic challenges. The poverty rate is well above the city average, placing Sulphur Springs in the category of concentrated poverty, which often correlates with underinvestment in infrastructure, education, and health. The median rent in Sulphur Springs is $582, while the median rent in the city of Tampa is $1,617. Clearly, these show the signs of gentrification in the makings. When we look at Sulphur Springs, another thing that needs to be noted, the percent of people 3 years or older in K through 12 is 21% compared to the city, which is 13%. Again, a very young population in the community of Sulphur Springs. The other thing related to Sulphur Springs. Sulphur Springs, when you look at the data, has an overall violent grade of D+. Property crime, it has a grade of 6 of C. That being the case, let's talk about how do you and what do you do to position yourself to change the narrative and really talk about transforming neighborhood. Let me give some more information about me, and then let's go into what we plan to do to work with the community, as we do with communities around the nation, to change the narrative.
Recording in progress.
So at a recent city council meeting, we shared with the city our intent, after speaking with leadership from Sulphur Springs, our intent to work with that neighborhood in terms of assisting it and transforming this neighborhood.
Please mute your television or whatever you're watching this on, and would you please take your opportunity to speak to this esteemed city council?
my wife a very, very,
Okay, we're going to put her on mute and we're going to move on to Michael Randolph. Michael Randolph.
Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph. So, I want to talk about three things quickly today. I want to offer my support and expertise to help the Sulphur Springs community launch a community-driven initiative from the bottom up to focus on transforming their neighborhoods from within. As I explained to you in conversation with the local leaders there, if you don't control the process will control you. Guided by the West Tampa CDC model, I'm committed to collaborating with the residents and shareholders to co-create a comprehensive holistic framework that addresses the economic, social, and physical infrastructure needed to revitalize the community. This includes advancing affordable housing, expanding workforce and business development, and strengthening the social fabric of the community intentionally. In addition to that, working with them to get funding as well as provide them with assistance in putting together their community's strategic plan. Thank you.
Stephanie Pointer is Ms. Pointer.
Okay, now let's go into some other pieces that I'm adding on in order to in order to give me 1 second while I'm looking for my document. In order to truly transform that neighborhood. The other thing we're looking at doing is working with them and funding sources. That is funding sources from the public and private sector, using the community benefit agreement as a vehicle to bring in transformation, government subsidies and incentives, programs, foundation and corporate partners, in addition to other types of funding. To support this initiative, we also are looking at developing a suite of planning and strategies, including a community SWOT and analyst, a business and operational plan, a clear theory of change, a robust need statement, and strategic asset mapping. Together, these tools will ensure that the transformation is not only resident driven, but also data informed, investment ready, and positioned for lasting impact. So let me give a little bit of background that brings me to the table and makes me uniquely qualified. My journey began in the early 1990s on the ground with one of the nation's first community comprehensive critical infrastructure initiatives, efforts in Baltimore's Sandtown neighborhood. Through Community Building and Partnership Initiative, I witnessed firsthand how integrated resident-led actions could activate black by black change. This model grew into a national framework known as the Federal Empowerment Zone, anchoring a paradigm shift from slice services programs to comprehensive equity-driven planning. A little big information. My training has spanned from public, private, and academic institutions, each one shaping my ability to navigate both strategies and in spirit. So let's talk about some of those training. It includes the University of Maryland and the University of South Florida, where I learned community real estate development, emphasizing base housing, finance, and project management. At FAMU is where I learned business development and strategy with a focus on historically underserved communities. At the federal level, both HUD and Health and Human Service is where I learned strategic planning, tools like the consolidated plan, theory of change in an econ planning suite. In addition to that, I received a cross-sector mentorship, and that includes training from grassroots leaders, developers, investors, and movement builders in organizing mobilization and funding innovation. This journey, rooted in legacy, informed my theory and led by people positioned me to facilitate transformation tables like the one unfolding in Sulphur Springs. While residents don't just have they in fact will be co-architects of the vision. In community development, in any community development approach to be successful, the following elements must be there. It must first have 3 pillars that include strong leadership to guide the vision, a clear plan to chart the course, and a strategic partnership to turn ideas into action. When these elements align, funding doesn't have to be chased, as most people chase funds. In fact, funding will find its way to the mission. This model was based on the West Tampa model. The West Tampa model is a national model on what works. I'm looking forward to working with the people who just want to have a decent life and be able to control their own destiny. Oftentimes, when projects and programs come into the African American communities, it's not about them. It's not about the people, it's about them. When they leave, the resource leaves. This whole theory is consistent with an idea that resources must stay in the community, and the community must be able to build, to create generational community wealth in order to assure that while development is good, it's better when we marry it with approaches to reduce gentrification and displacement.